Growing up in the 70s and 80s, we had a lot of television shows. Well, we only had like 3 channels for most of that time period, but still, we had a lot of television shows, and then, before you knew it, we had about 15 channels. Boy, do we have a lot of shows, but let's take a look at 10 of them that most people forget about. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman. I'm coming back at you with another video. Like I said in the opening, we're going to talk about 10 TV shows I don't hear a lot of people talk about. So, won't waste any more of your time, and we'll get on to it. Talking about one, maybe one that, yeah, you do hear a little bit about it, but not much. Starcadia. Remember that? This was a game show for kids where they got to play video games, arcade games, not home console. They weren't playing any adventure or any freeway on 2600. Nope. Starcadia. It was great. It was great. I didn't like the host. He was always too old. Like he didn't know. He was always out of touch with the video games. But it gave you a chance to see some video games you didn't know about. Maybe some new ones coming out, or maybe your local video place, if you was in a smaller town, didn't have it. So it's always cool to see some of these video games that were coming out and hoping your store will have them. It was a lot of fun. Kids today just don't know. I know. Starcadia. How fun was that? Let's go with number 9. This is creepy. I don't know if it was a show or what it was, but he would pop up on PBS, and that was Mr. Goodbobby. Remember him? He looked like a cross between Horseshack on Welcome Back Kotter and Screech on Saved by the Bell. And he wore a suit where you could see his insides. I know he's supposed to, bring you, talk about health, make you excited about getting healthy or something, but it was just the creepiest. God, it was so creepy. I hated when I was at home and saw it on TV by myself because I just couldn't get it out of my head. As a man on television, Mom, with no skin. Oh, it was so... That and seeing anything having to do with the Elephant Man would freak me out. If I was up late at night, and a commercial came on for a Time Life book, something, and they wanted to talk about the Elephant Man, that was it. That was it. I couldn't get to sleep. Let's talk about another thing. It's not really a TV show. I don't know exactly what this is. It was like a PSA or something. It would come on during cartoons. And that was that little orange guy with the little thin legs. His thin legs used to, I used to be like, you could just snap his legs. And his name was Time for Timer. He always would tell you cool stuff like take an ice tray and put water in it, or lemonade in it, stick a toothpick in it, and you can have a lemonade sucker. I never had ice trays. I had an automatic ice maker when I was growing up, so we never had that. Never could do that, but he always had these little gadgets, how to spend your day if it was raining outside. But he had these little thin legs, and they used to bother me. You could just snap them. It's like you could just snap them. Oh. And, Star Wars was a big hit, of course, in 1977. So a lot of people try to get the next Star Wars, to bring Star Wars to the small screen, to get kids excited. And, of course, it was Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers. I know they were in works before Star Wars. I know all that, but they got the green light and try to get them on TV. But I'm not talking about those. You hear about those. I'm talking about the one with Scotty from Star Trek, James Doohan. And that's not Star Trek. It's called Jason of Star Command. This would come on after the cartoons on CBS and kind of lead into the afternoon news and then the afternoon movie. But Starcadia was live action. I remember there was a guy that was all blue. His skin was all blue. And there was another guy that was missing a lot of hair, and he was freaky. And then there was Jason of Star Command. The show was named after Jason. That's how cool he was. I couldn't wait to see that show. And here's one to watch this channel. You've heard this one. I've talked about it before a lot of times. And that is Space Giants. Oh, remember Space Giants? School would get out at about 2:45. Space Giants would come on at 3:05 because it was TBS. Everything was 3:05, 35. Everything came on 5 after. I don't know why they did that, but they did it. It was genius, probably, because that meant you wouldn't turn the channel, because once your show went off, every other channel show's already started. So you're like, I guess I'm gonna watch Gilligan's Island after Space Giant. But I love this show. It had a little boy, he had his whistle, and he wanted like the little boy. He blew like one whistle. And the little boy would turn into a rocket and fly over and help him. 2 rockets would be like the mom, and 3 would be like the big Goldar guy. And they had, remember that bad guy? What was his name? Started with a Z, I think. I can't remember. I forgot his name. Goldar. No, Goldar was the good guy. I forget his name right now. He had Lugo men. They would melt and turn into like green slime. Oh, it's horrible graphics, and I'm trying to watch it today, and it's a horrible show. But it was like the early version of Power Rangers. It was our Power Rangers in the late 70s, early 80s. What about Nickelodeon? Now we all... Hold on. I gotta tell you about a cool new shirt at junkmanmerch.com. You're a Jaws fan? Check out this shirt. Yeah, look at that. Creepy, right? Junkmanmerch.com. Junkmanmerch.com. Now let's get back to the video. Look at Nickelodeon, you know, great classic shows. But there were some early shows people forget about. What about the one with Leonard Nimoy? Remember that? Lights, Camera, Action. This is where the guy that plays Spock would tell you all about movies, movie magic, how they did this in movies. Movie magic's gone today. You're like, oh, I know how they did it with a dang computer. It's not that fun. But he would tell you, I remember he did a Star Wars, I think Return of the Jedi episode. Maybe it was Empire, I think it was Jedi. I think he even did a Star Trek episode, man. And I loved watching that. He'd tell you behind the scenes. That was always good. And also, Nickelodeon, there was What Will They Think of Next? It's kind of maybe an educational show. It would tell you about these new gadgets or new things coming out. I remember, like, hey, they got a new way they milk cows now. They hook a machine to the udders and suck the milk right out. And it was like, what will we think of next? And it was great. It always will show you stuff like, you'd be like, oh man, when I get older in the 90s, this stuff's going to be popular. You know, they're like, oh, you'll be able to use your computer to order a pizza and it would show up at your house. And I'll be like, oh, what will they think of next? I can't wait for that to happen. And then there was a TV show. Man, no one remembers this but me. I used to get 1979. I would get excited for it. It only lasted a couple episodes. It was called Cliffhangers, and each week they would have it was different. One week it'd be about this girl. I think her name was Sue Williams. Then there was a whole Western one, and there was a Dracula one. There was a couple, maybe another one. I can't remember. I know there was cowboy one. I know that, and the Dracula. And each week it would leave you hanging. The next week it'd be another one. So you had to wait like 3 weeks to see the conclusion. But I think that's why I'm hooked on. I love a good cliffhanger. Maybe it was called Empire Strikes Back. Maybe it was called Cliffhangers. Maybe it's called I used to watch soap operas with my mom and my grandma. Oh, Roger Thorpe hanging off a cliff. Did he die? Did he not die? You had to wait the weekend to see. I love a good cliffhanger. In a movie or anything. I love that. That's what I hate about maybe like the prequels and the sequels. They never really give you a good hanger, good cliffhanger. I love that.
Cliffhangers, 3 continuing action-packed stories in one show. First, The Secret Empire. Marshal Jim Donner rides out of the past right into the future and discovers a secret city beneath the earth, filled with wonders and packed with thrills, far beyond the dreams of mortal men. A city ruled by an evil emperor whose one goal is to control all mankind. Next, a beautiful newspaper reporter travels the globe to uncover a plot which will end the world. But when this ring of master spies finds she's hot on their trail, all they want to do is stop Susan Williams. Then it's Dracula 79. The Prince of Darkness has returned to cast his spell upon the unwary. But the evil Count will never rest in peace, for Kurt and Mary have sworn to end his immortal reign. Can goodness triumph, or will Dracula rule the day? Watch Tuesday on NBC. They don't call them cliffhangers for nothing.
And now number 2, Spider-Man. No, not the Spider-Man cartoon. We all remember that. What about Spider-Man when I first saw a live-action Spider-Man anyway? Electric Company. Remember that? It would show Electric Company, and then they would show Morgan Freeman's voice would come over while he's looking at a Spider-Man book and then a comic, and it'd come to life. Spider-Man never talked, but he had these bubbles up, and it was kind of cheesy, but it was so cool. So cool seeing Spider-Man in live action. You couldn't believe it. Wasn't great graphics or anything, but man, it was pretty darn awesome. And the last show from my childhood is the first one where I knew I was attracted to women. And we're talking about a show called New Zoo Review. Remember that? It had this talking, talking frog and a talking owl dressed up. And they had this one girl. I always wore mini skirts. She's kind of like the girl. She dressed like the girl that was from De La Soul. Was that what they're called? Your groove is in the heart. Remember that? Groove is in the heart, whatever it was called. She was kind of dressed like that, or maybe something beefy too. She always had the smallest skirts you could imagine. And I was real little, like 4 or 5, and I was like, whoa, whatever that is, that's what I'm attracted to. Whew, this tube socks came all the way up to her knees. Man, she was something else. She was first love right there. But believe it or not, that's a look at 10 shows that I remember that a lot of people don't remember. I'm curious, do you remember some of these? Maybe some shows you remember and you're like, no one ever talks about it. Let me know that in the comments. And let me know, did you watch any of these? Did you get excited for it? I bet Cliffhangers is the one you're like, I never heard of. I bet Cliffhangers is the one that got you. Even if you're like, heard of it, bet you never seen it. I bet that's the one on the list. There's some other ones on the list, but I bet everybody got Cliff. Now you're going to try to be the cool guy and say, oh, I remember Cliffhangers. But come on, do you really? Let me know that and more in the comments below. And as always, stop missing all my content. Subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.